What if the epic tales of shield maidens and the mystical sunstones of Viking lore weren't just campfire stories? For centuries, many historians dismissed them as pure fantasy. But what if there was a kernel of truth buried right under our feet all along? Today, we're counting down 9 historical myths that turned out to be surprisingly real. 9. The Amazons, warrior women of legend. For millennia, they were the stuff of legend. The Amazons, a fierce nation of female warriors described by the ancient Greeks, were said to be the arch-enemies of heroes like Heracles and Achilles. They were depicted as masters of the horse and bow, living in a society without men. For most of history, these tales were considered just that, tales. But the myth of the Amazons was about to collide with a stunning reality. Archaeologists excavating across the vast Eurasian steppes began unearthing something extraordinary. In regions from Kazakhstan to southern Russia, they found Bronze Age tombs that challenged everything they thought they knew. These weren't the graves of kings or male chieftains, they belonged to women. And these were no ordinary burials. The female skeletons were interred with the full regalia of a warrior: bronze daggers, iron knives and quivers packed with razor-sharp arrowheads. Some skeletons even showed the telltale signs of a life spent in the saddle. Their leg bones were bowed from countless hours on horseback. The discoveries are undeniable. As recently as 2023 and 2024, reports on 4,000-year-old graves in Azerbaijan highlighted women buried with maces and sharp arrows, providing what historian Bettany Hughes called compelling evidence that there's truth behind the myths and legends of ancient Greece. This wasn't just proof that women hunted. The evidence points to them being trained, battle-hardened fighters. They were real-life warrior women, the Scythian nomads who hunted, fought, and lived much like the men of their tribes, and who very likely inspired the enduring Greek myths of the Amazons. 8. The Lost City of Troy. It's maybe the most famous war in all of literature. A grand 10-year siege fought over a beautiful queen with legendary heroes and meddling gods. Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, gave us the story of Troy, a magnificent walled city brought down by a giant wooden horse. For centuries, the story was foundational to Western literature, but few believed Troy was a real place. While some had long speculated that a real Bronze Age city inspired Homer, the consensus among many scholars was that the Trojan War itself was a myth. That was the prevailing view until the 19th century, when a wealthy German businessman and amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann became obsessed with the idea that Troy was real. Guided by Homer's detailed descriptions, Schliemann focused on a hill in modern-day Turkey known as Hizarluk. Starting in 1870, he began digging, uncovering the ruins of not just one, but multiple ancient cities built on top of one another. Though Schliemann's methods were often crude and destructive, his conviction paid off. He had found it. Later, more scientific excavations confirmed his discovery, revealing a vast fortified city that had been occupied for millennia. In the layers known as Troy 6 and Troy 7, dating to the late Bronze Age, they found compelling signs of a violent end, evidence of a massive fire, scattered skeletons, and piles of sling stones right outside the palace walls, suggesting a desperate last stand. The city Homer described had been a real powerful place. How closely its history matches the epic poem is still debated, but its dramatic end almost certainly provided the historical seed for the tale that has captivated the world for 3,000 years. 7. The Viking sunstone. The Vikings were masters of the sea. In their iconic longships, they navigated the treacherous North Atlantic, reaching Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. But how did they navigate so accurately on the famously foggy days of the northern seas, when the sun was completely hidden? Norse sagas speak of a magical tool, a solarstein or sunstone, that could reveal the sun's position even through thick clouds. For a long time, these accounts were dismissed as folklore. The myth started to look a lot more plausible when scientists considered what kind of natural material could do this. The leading candidate is a crystal known as Iceland spar, which is common in Scandinavia. This crystal has a peculiar property called birefringence, which splits a ray of light in two. By rotating the crystal, you can find the one point where the rays merge, a trick that works by detecting the polarization of sunlight. This allows you to pinpoint the sun's direction with surprising accuracy, even when it's hidden by clouds. Computer simulations have shown that this technique works, with one study finding that using a sunstone just once every 3 hours could allow a Viking ship to sail from Norway to Greenland with a success rate of over 92%. But the smoking gun for Viking use is still missing. While a piece of Iceland spar was found in the 16th century wreck of an English ship next to navigational dividers, no such stone has ever been found in a confirmed Viking Age context. So, while the Viking sunstone hasn't been definitively proven, it's a very strong hypothesis showing the legend was based on real science, not magic. 6. The Hittite Empire. For a long time, the Hittites were ghosts of history. They're mentioned in the Old Testament as a powerful people who interacted with figures like Abraham and King Solomon. But outside of those references, there was virtually no proof they ever existed. Many 19th century historians were skeptical, suggesting the Hittites were just a minor tribe, or maybe a fiction altogether. An entire empire couldn't just vanish, could it? The skepticism began to crumble in the late 19th century when archaeologists noticed strange carvings and a unique script in Turkey that didn't match any known civilization. The breakthrough came at a site called Boğazköy, which turned out to be the sprawling ruins of Hattusa, the legendary Hittite capital. And inside its walls, they found a treasure trove that silenced all doubt. Archaeologists discovered an archive of some 30,000 cuneiform tablets. These weren't just religious texts, they were detailed royal annals, diplomatic letters, legal codes, and peace treaties. One of the most famous was a treaty between the Hittites and the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II after the Battle of Kadesh. The tablets revealed a vast empire that was a major superpower of the Bronze Age, on par with the Egyptians and Babylonians. And excavations in recent years continue to unearth more texts and artifacts, expanding our knowledge of this once lost civilization. The Hittites weren't a myth, they were just waiting for their story to be rediscovered. We're about halfway through our countdown, and the revelations are only getting more incredible. If you're enjoying this journey into the past, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next. 5. The lost underwater city of Heracleion. Ancient texts, including those by the Greek historian Herodotus, spoke of a magnificent port city at the mouth of the Nile called Thonis Heracleion. It was said to be Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean before Alexandria was founded, but for over 1,000 years, no trace of it could be found. Like Atlantis, it was believed to have been swallowed by the sea, its story fading into myth. That mystery lasted until the year 2000. An underwater archaeologist named Frank Goddio had been surveying the waters of Abu Qir Bay, and using advanced scanning equipment, his team detected something astonishing beneath the seabed. Buried under sand and silt, they found the ruins of an entire city. It was Thonis Heracleion, lost for more than 1,200 years. The discovery finally solved a puzzle. Thonis was the city's Egyptian name, and Heracleion was the Greek name. They were the same place. What emerged from the depths was a civilization frozen in time. Divers uncovered the remains of a grand temple, colossal 16-foot-tall statues of pharaohs and gods, and hundreds of smaller sphinxes. They found dozens of shipwrecks, over 60 so far, and more than 700 ancient anchors, a testament to the city's bustling maritime trade. Recent finds even include archaeological remains of fruit preserved in baskets for over 2,200 years. The city likely met its end not in one single event, but gradually, as a series of earthquakes and rising sea levels caused the unstable clay soil it was built on to liquefy, pulling it beneath the waves over several centuries, up to around the 8th century AD4. Rocks from the sky, meteorites. For most of human history, the idea that rocks could fall from the sky was considered absurd. When people reported seeing fiery streaks in the sky followed by finding strange heavy stones on the ground, the scientific establishment was unimpressed. Thinkers from Aristotle onward had argued the heavens were perfect and unchanging. These thunderstones, as they were called, were dismissed as being formed by lightning or ejected from volcanoes. Eyewitness reports were just superstition. That stance began to crack in 1794 when a German physicist named Ernst Chladni published a book arguing that these stones were, in fact, extraterrestrial. He compiled accounts of fireballs and fallen rocks, but his ideas were mostly mocked. The real turning point came in France. On April 26, 1803, in broad daylight, a loud boom was heard across the town of L'Aigle in Normandy. Then a shower of over 3,000 black stones rained down, witnessed by countless people. It was impossible to ignore. The French Academy of Sciences, which had previously ridiculed the idea, sent a young physicist named Jean-Baptiste Biot to investigate. He meticulously mapped where the stones fell, interviewed witnesses, and analysed their chemistry. His detailed report presented undeniable evidence that the rocks came from space. The L'Aigle meteorite shower, and Biot's brilliant investigation, finally convinced the scientific establishment that rocks really do fall from the sky, turning the study of meteorites from folklore into a real science. 3. The gorilla, a hairy mythical monster. Around 500 BC, a Carthaginian explorer named Hanno the Navigator led a fleet down the coast of West Africa. In his logbook, he described a terrifying encounter on an island. He wrote of a savage people, mostly female, who were covered in hair and incredibly violent. His interpreters called them gorilla. According to Hanno, these creatures threw stones to defend themselves. His crew killed 3 females and brought their hairy skins back to Carthage. For the next 2,000 years, Hanno's story was treated as a tall tale. Scholars debated what he could have seen: a local tribe, chimpanzees, or was it all just invented to make his voyage sound more heroic? The word gorilla became a synonym for a mythical monster. The myth became reality in 1847 when an American missionary named Thomas Staunton Savage acquired the skull and bones of a massive, previously unknown primate. He and naturalist Jeffries Wyman scientifically described the new species. In a nod to the ancient legend, they named it Troglodytes gorilla, now the western gorilla. The mythical hairy monster was real. While it's still debated whether Hanno actually saw gorillas or some other primate, his ancient account provided the name for one of the world's most magnificent animals, transforming them from legend to a living species. Ball lightning. It sounds like pure science fiction. A glowing, hovering orb of light, about the size of a grapefruit, that appears during thunderstorms. For centuries, people have reported seeing these mysterious spheres drifting silently through the air, sometimes even passing through walls before vanishing with a pop. But because it was so rare and left no physical evidence, scientists long dismissed ball lightning as an optical illusion or a mass delusion. The problem was that ball lightning seemed to defy the known laws of physics. How could a ball of plasma hold its shape for several seconds without a power source? Without any data, the skepticism was understandable. Then, in 2012, the myth was accidentally caught on camera. A team of Chinese scientists studying regular lightning on the Tibetan plateau had their video recorders and spectrographs running when a lightning bolt hit the ground. A glowing ball of light, about 15 feet wide, rose from the point of impact and drifted for over a second. Their equipment analysed the light and revealed the orb was made of elements from the soil itself: silicon, iron, and calcium. This provided the first hard data for a leading theory, that a lightning strike can vaporize minerals in the ground, and the resulting silicon nanoparticles burn slowly in the air, creating a glowing orb. After centuries of being dismissed as fantasy, ball lightning was finally documented, confirming these ghostly orbs are a real, if incredibly rare, natural phenomenon. 1. Archimedes' death ray. It's one of the greatest tales of ancient warfare. During the Roman siege of Syracuse in the 3rd century BC, the brilliant inventor Archimedes was said to have engineered a superweapon. According to ancient accounts, he used an array of mirrors, or polished bronze shields, to focus sunlight onto the approaching Roman ships, setting them on fire from a distance. For centuries, this death ray has been intensely debated. Skeptics, including the philosopher René Descartes, argued it was impossible, a piece of propaganda to embellish Archimedes' genius. The legend has been put to the test multiple times. The show, Mythbusters, famously tried and failed to ignite a wooden boat with mirrors. However, other experiments have been more successful. In 2005, a group of MIT students managed to set a wooden mock-up of a ship on fire in about 10 minutes using 127 square-foot mirrors. They found the key was a cloudless sky and getting the focus just right. These reconstructions show that the science behind the legend is plausible, at least under ideal conditions. It doesn't prove that Archimedes actually built and used the weapon. Most historians are still skeptical that it would have been practical against moving ships in a real battle. But it does move the story out of the realm of pure myth. The death ray remains unproven, but modern experiments suggest that ancient ingenuity might have been capable of creating such a fearsome device. From warrior women and sunken cities to rocks from space and ancient superweapons, history is filled with stories once considered too wild to be true. These legends, dismissed for centuries as fantasy, were just waiting for the right discovery or a new way of thinking to reveal the real events and people that might have inspired them. It makes you wonder what other myths that we dismiss today might just be history waiting to be discovered. Which of these stories surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below.